This is a re-recording of the devotional for Monday, August the 9th. The title of the devotional is The Wise Foresee the Dangers of Compromise. Our scripture reading, 1 Chronicles chapter 5. Now you're going to find in 1 Chronicles 5 the genealogical record for the 2.5 tribes that remained on the east side of the Jordan River. I'm going to refer to them as the Transjordan tribes. Now, in verses 1 through 10, you have the tribe of Reuben. And we're introduced to him, sadly, with a tragic reminder that Reuben, though he was the firstborn son of Jacob, and he should have been the leader of the clan, as well as received an ample inheritance, instead, because of a gross sin, he lost his inheritance. Let me introduce you to that. Genesis 35, verse 22, gives us some insight that Reuben chose to be an ungodly man. And we actually find that he decided to lie with his father's concubine being a lesser wife. And so he committed incest with his father's wife. Well, Reuben's sin was so egregious, so wicked, that it had generational consequences not only for himself but for his family. You see, his sin caused his family to lose their inheritance and distinction as a tribe. Joseph's sons became distinct tribes in Israel, and furthermore, the leadership of the 12 tribes of Israel fell to the tribe of Judah, whose lineage, we read in verse 2, emerged to be superior to his brethren, David being the chief ruler. Now, the great landmass of the tribe of Reuben was located on the east side of Jordan. It is described in verse 9. Now, the tribe of Gad, their genealogy is recorded in verses 11 through 17. Who was Gad? Gad was the seventh born son of Jacob. Now, the genealogy in 1 Chronicles 5 is interrupted with the history lesson of a defeat of a confederacy of heathen nations. Now we find in verse 18 that the sons of Reuben, the Gadites, half-tribe of Manasseh, had made war against the Hagarites. Who were the Hagarites? They were descendants, I believe, of Ishmael, whose mother was Hagar. Well, the Hagarites had confederated with Jethro, Nephish, and Nodab, and had gone to war against the Transjordan tribes. Well, the Transjordan tribes are described in verse 18 as valiant men, able to war with buckler, that is a small shield, and sword, shoot with the bow, skillful in war. Now, we're not told the catalyst of this battle, but I suspect it was over the possession of fertile land on the east side of the Jordan River. Now, the Transjordan tribes were obviously skilled in battle. They won a great victory, but verse 20 gives us insight that it wasn't their military skill that won the battle. Instead, it was the fact that they cried to God in the battle. God heard their cry, and they trusted in Him, and God gave them the victory. Now, it's not stated again, but the Hagarites, I believe, were descendants of Ishmael. Now, verses 23 through 24, we have the half-tribe of Manasseh. That details that are given there are those that tribe. And then finally, verses 25 through 26, we're going to notice what I am going to encourage you with is a record of a tragic failure. Now, we've already seen that the half-tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Reuben, Gad, that they were mighty men of war, and God prospered them. But tragically, the prosperity of those tribes would come to a tragic end, for they transgressed against the God of their fathers. Verse 25, and they went a-whoring after the gods of the people of the land, and God destroyed them. What a tragedy. You see, the Transjordan tribes had chosen not to settle in the land, but outside the land, taking advantage of the opportunity that was given them with the pastures that were found there. But it was their proximity to the heathen nations around them that was ultimately the undoing of the 2.5 tribes. In fact, the influence of the ungodly inevitably drew away their children from worshiping the God of Israel. They broke covenant with the Lord. And we read in verse 26 that God stirred the heart of the Assyrian kings who invaded the land. The first tribes to be taken captive were the 2.5 tribes, the Transjordan tribes. Now, I give you a closing thought. Though their history was marked by great victories, and the spoils taken in war had enriched those 2.5 tribes, it was their compromise with the heathen that enslaved the hearts of their children to serve other gods. Here's a challenge to you, Mom and Dad. Be diligent and establish the standards and boundaries and protect your children from the influence of the world and its sinful ways. Thank you for joining me today, and God bless. Bye-bye.